Welcome back. Now let's discuss the fourth task of PT speaking module, which is called retell lecture. It's a simple task. The reason it's called retell lecture is because you will be listening to a lecture. While the lecture is playing, you're supposed to take down notes with the marker pen and the erasable notepads which have been given to you in the PT test center. You don't need to carry your own stationery. After the lecture ends, you'll get about 10 seconds to just go through your notes quickly. After those 10 seconds end, you will hear a beep sound in your headset, beep, after which a blue bar will move for 40 seconds on your screen, which is the recording timer. During that time, you're supposed to retell the lecture in your own words as fluently as possible. Before the audio lecture starts, you will get exactly 3 seconds. This task of retell lecture comes immediately after describe image ends. As you might just recall from my previous session, in the task of describe image, you generally get 4 to 5 videos. Mentally, you need to be prepared that after the 4th, 5th, or maximum the 6th question of describe image, the next question is going to be a retell lecture. So in those 3 seconds before the audio starts, or when ideally you have reached question number 5 of describe image or 4, you should open the lid of your pen, just scribble it so that it's ready and you are ready to take notes. One golden tip before we go delve in detail in this task. In describe image, you'll get an image and all questions. In retell lecture, just to confuse you, you might be getting an image on your screen and the audio will start playing soon. My suggestion and my understanding is that that image is just like a trap. Don't get distracted by what you read on the image. It's good to understand what the lecture is going to be about, but I would suggest not thinking about it too much. That's my suggestion. Now the total number of questions which you'll be getting for this task is minimum 1 and maximum 2. The total marks contribution from this task will be integrated, dual, which means because you listen and then you speak, you get marks for listening and speaking both. Per question, approximately, you might expect 3 to 5 points in listening and 3 to 5 points for speaking both. So if you get 2 questions, that's going to be roughly, I would say 6 to 8 or maximum 6 to 9 points in both listening and speaking scores respectively out of 90 points. If you go into the deeper parameter consideration of scoring, per question you get 5 points for fluency, 5 points for pronunciation and 5 points for content. So total 15 points per correct answer. Not out of 90, but as I explained in my earlier sessions and earlier videos, the total points per question are different, but the calculation and scoring out of 90 can be different because there is an algorithm and a deeper logic which is secretive, which goes in the back end of the system. Okay. Now, which type of lectures can you get? The honest answer is it could be any type of lecture, but because the name of the test is PT Academic, mostly you get academic lectures, which means dealing with, let's say, science, sometimes psychology, sometimes financial issues. Mostly you might find such recordings as podcasts. If you visit websites like The Australian, which is a newspaper, or The Guardian, or the other website which is popular is called The Scientific American. So many times PT and such tests, they pick up lectures and test material for creating their questions from authentic websites or articles on the internet. That is why I'm sharing that with you. Now, while the audio starts, you must be very attentive. Why? Because the main topic, the topic sentence or the key phrase is going to come mostly at the beginning of the audio, right? What the audio is about. So you must try to note that down very quickly as possible. Let's say the topic is about coffee exports from Africa in 1920. You don't need to write everything, right? You just write coffee exports Africa 1920. You don't need to worry about grammar too much, like in, on, a, of, the. You don't need to worry too much about such articles and fillers, okay? That's tip number one. Now, after the audio starts, like the topic sentence is spoken, my suggestion is to take notes vertically on your sheet from top to bottom as quickly as possible. You don't need to note down full sentences, but then you just need to note down keywords. Now you might be thinking, what exactly are keywords? Or what can be considered as keywords, right? In simple English, let me explain. Anything which is a name of a person, place, thing, it's called a noun. All nouns can be considered as keywords. Number one. How to improve the content score? If you just speak the keywords, will it be enough? Yes, it could be, but let me explain a bit in detail so that you are very clear and you follow it in the real exam, which is exactly what I want you to do. Now let's say in the audio you hear something, a word like students, okay? That is also a keyword. But let's say in the actual audio, the speaker is talking about smart students. Better content, right? Better clarity, because before students you added the word smart, which is an adjective. So now you have an adjective plus noun combination. Greedy shop owners, smart students, cruel person, kind soul. You know, two words together always make better sense. Now let's say in the same audio you hear smart students in Japan. So now you can understand that you are talking and you're listening about smart students in Japan. Now you have better context, right? So now you can understand that we are not only talking about students, we are talking about smart students. And not only are we talking about smart students, but we are talking about smart students in Japan. So what I'm trying to explain is, minimum try to note down two keywords together. That's good. Even if it's one, it's okay. Let's say there are names of different countries like Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Germany, Japan. Try to note down everything in shorthand. You don't need to note down everything, but try to note with clear handwriting. Sometimes it happens that you might take notes, but you might not be able to understand your own handwriting. You might find it funny right now when I speak that, but it happens in the real exam, because the pen is more like a sketch pen. It's not an actual pen. And these are not sheets of paper, these are plastic sheets. That's why you need to be very clear and quick in taking notes from top to bottom. Always note from top to bottom, okay? That's my advice. Now, sometimes if you note down just keywords, still you might be able to remember the actual sentence. That is also very good. Let's say you've written smart students in and J, and you circle the J. So you remember, it's smart students in Japan. So you can actually train your brain to remember sentences also like that and improve your short-term memory skills. This is one trick. Also, when the audio is approaching its end, you will be able to see, that the actual lecture audio is going to end shortly. Be very attentive and try to note down the full sentence. So 2 sentences or main phrases, try to note down full. Introduction and conclusion, or towards the conclusion, and in between as many keywords as possible. Sometimes the audio is very short, so you might be able to note down just 10 or 20 keywords. Sometimes the audio is lengthy. Generally the audio duration can be anywhere ranging between 30 seconds to 90 seconds, generally speaking, okay, per question. So try to note down as many keywords as possible. The more, the better, always, for content. Now, once the audio ends, and as I said, you might have an image on your side, you can generally ignore that image. That is my suggestion, okay? But if you don't have a lot of keywords, you can consider using those as your answer keywords. Now, once the audio ends, you'll get 10 seconds. What should you do in those 10 seconds? I always suggest reading those words aloud. Rather than just reading them in your mind, read them aloud, speak them aloud. Because around you, people will be speaking at or in your test center. And the best way to make your brain and your tongue prepared for the actual response, which will be recorded, is by speaking everything before the beep sound. So after those 10 seconds end, you will hear a beep. And then as soon as you hear the beep, the blue recording bar will start moving. That's your cue that you have to start speaking your answer now. 40 seconds is the time for which the blue bar will move. So that is the timer. Okay, you won't see the time as in seconds on your screen, you will not see. What you will see is the blue bar moving. Half time is approximately 20 seconds. The ideal answer length, as per my suggestion, is around 30 to 35 seconds. You don't need to speak for the full length of 40 seconds, you don't. If you have a lot of content, it's okay. But to get more marks, you don't need to cover everything, which is practically impossible anyway, okay? So try your best to note down as many keywords as possible and include as many keywords as possible in your answer. Now, as I described and shared my secret template in Describe Image, the same I would recommend for Retell Lecture. I'll give a template, which is it is not even a template, you know. It's very natural. It's a very natural way of, speaking as many keywords as possible. And you can also insert full phrases or sentences in that. So this is how it should be. You can follow it with full confidence, and I guarantee you, if you use it fluently, if you keep your voice confident, if you don't stress on words individually, if you speak in a flat voice with full energy level the way I am speaking right now, I guarantee you will get those full points for listening content and also your fluency, which gives marks to speaking. And always open your jaws properly the way I'm opening them right now, so that the software understands each and every word which you are trying to convey or speak. Okay, now this is how the template goes. The first sentence of the template will be something like this. The speaker was talking about, and just insert the full phrase, whichever first sentence which you have heard and you have noted down, insert it in that line, okay? For example, the speaker was talking about earthquakes and tsunamis in Japan in the 20th century. The speaker was talking about coffee exports in Africa from 1940 to 1980. The speaker was talking about the financial crisis happening in the world currently. So basically, fit that topic sentence which you have noted in that line. Be fluent, be confident. After the first sentence ends, you need to take a very tiny pause, not a stop. It's just a very small pause of a millisecond, okay? So that the software understands that the topic has finished, the topic sentence, and now we're going to talk a bit more. Now, I'll tell you one sentence which you can use repeatedly in the template, and the line is very simple. This is the line. From the lecture I can hear. From the lecture I can hear. You can also say from the audio I can hear. And just speak 3 to 5 keywords together in this sentence. For example, from the lecture I can hear India, China, coffee exports, Africa, Zimbabwe. From the lecture I can hear Malaysia, China, Japan, and highest coffee exports in 1960. From the lecture I can also hear that maximum coffee exports happened to Spain from 1970 to 1990. Moreover, from the lecture I can hear XYZ, XYZ, whatever you hear fit there. Furthermore, from the lecture you can hear XYZ. So this line, from the lecture I can hear, you can use repeatedly. You must take very minor pauses once the sentence ends. Also, whenever you speak multiple keywords in a single sentence, please don't take a pause between those keywords. That is not recommended. So don't speak like this. From the lecture I can hear India, China, and Japan. Don't do that. That kills the score in speaking because the fluency goes down. Okay? As I mentioned, you can use connectors like moreover, furthermore, in addition at the beginning of the sentence, but speak fluently without taking unnatural pauses. If you make a mistake, if you mix up your template or forget the template, don't stop. Continue speaking fluently without correcting your mistakes. That is the key mantra to get a full 90 out of 90 in speaking. Mainly comes from your fluency and your confidence. That's it. Also, if you forget something, don't panic. As I said, you can just read the title which is written on top. Your instruction for the task, you will hear a lecture, kindly speak for 40 seconds. You can say that also. Why? So that your fluency doesn't suffer. So that you get full marks 90 out of 90 in your speaking. Right? Also, sometimes the audio can be very hard to understand. The keywords can be very difficult. Maybe you're listening to them for the first time. What you can do is, if you don't have enough keywords, repeat the same words again. So let's say you've written only 10-15 words. You have the topic sentence introduction. So finish one cycle. So you start, the speaker was talking about the topic sentence. From the lecture I can hear A, B, C, D, E. From the lecture, moreover, I can also hear India, China, Japan, Malaysia, coffee exports. Let's say finished. No more keywords left. What will you do? Repeat the same cycle again. From the lecture I can hear coffee exports from Africa in 1920. Moreover, from the lecture I can hear India, China, Japan, Malaysia, coffee exports in Spain. From the lecture I can hear, so again you can repeat. If you have an image and if you don't understand any words, if it's a very quick lecture, if the audio is very unclear because sometimes there could be some disturbance in the background, don't worry. Just repeat the template again. Speak for around 30 seconds. That is a bit more than half time, roughly 3/4 time of the blue bar. That is 30 seconds. That's it. And finish it. In conclusion, the given lecture was about, and whatever the topics, concluding sentence you've written, just fit it there. If you don't have a concluding sentence, you can repeat the topic sentence again. In conclusion, this was a very informative lecture about coffee exports from Africa in 1940. Or, in conclusion, the given lecture was very informative and my time is up. So you can finish it like this with a flat, confident voice. Now, a big mistake which a lot of people make is people start stressing on the words, From the lecture I can hear India, China and Japan. From the lecture I can hear Malaysia. Don't do that. The clarity goes down, the score instantly goes down. Also, don't stress too much on the last word of your sentence. That will create an unnecessary pause. For example, the speaker was talking about coffee exports from Africa in 1940. From the lecture I can hear India, China and Japan. From the lecture I can hear Malaysia, Indonesia and Croatia. From the lecture I can hear Europe, Africa, Antarctica and Asia. Don't do that. You see how I'm stressing on the last word? Why I'm sharing these things? Because these are common mistakes which a lot of people make unknowingly. Because nobody tells them that if you do this, your score will go down. Another thing, a lot of times, because retell lecture comes immediately after describe image, people forget that and the audio starts because there is an image on your screen, as I said, to confuse you sometimes. So people just neglect it and people get confused and then they panic. There is nothing to panic. From wherever you understand that this is the first question of retell lecture, be relaxed, start taking notes. Any sentence you create as your topic sentence, any sentence as your conclusion. Now before I end this, last most important tip. Let's say you have a lot of keywords, okay, lot of keywords, 40-50 keywords you've written down, and you remember the sentences as well, there's a lot of data which you think you can cover and potentially can give you a high score in listening for your content. So what you can do is, don't follow any template. So what I mean is, let's say you just state the first sentence as your topic sentence. The speaker was talking about coffee exports in Africa or from Africa in 1940 to 1960. After that, let's say you've written 50 words, just start speaking 8 to 9 words as if it's a sentence, Asia, China, Japan, Malaysia, coffee exports in 1920. Germany, Indonesia, Europe, Africa's Antarctica and Arabian Ocean. Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, 1930, 1940, maximum imports, maximum exports. Economic exposure to coronavirus, COVID-19 visa, 1920 to 1924. In conclusion, the given lecture was about coffee exports from 1940 to 1960 and it was a very informative lecture. Next. Hit next immediately as soon as the last word comes out of your mouth. The software doesn't like silence. Click next and click yes immediately. That are you sure you want to go to the next question? So next, yes. And then the next question could be the second question of retell lecture, or it could be the first question of the 5th task of speaking, which is answer short question, which we'll be discussing shortly. So you have to be careful and you have to be very alert. So guys, this was all about retell lecture. I hope you understood. I hope you'll follow my template and my suggestions. For your speaking score, just speak confidently with a flat pitch the way I am speaking right now. Don't speak very fast. A lot of people speak like a bullet train, The speaker was talking about coffee exports. From the lecture I can hear India, China, Japan. From the lecture I can hear Malaysia. From the lecture No, that is not the right way. The software will penalize you because it doesn't understand what you're speaking. No point doing something and then wasting your money, right? Doing something the wrong way, I meant. Speak at a normal pitch. Speak confidently. Take very small natural pauses. Don't do and keep your voice active and energetic. It should not be low on energy. The speaker was talking about India, China and Japan. No, don't speak like that. Speak with energy, speak with confidence, speak fluently, and I guarantee you, you will get full points in listening and speaking both. That's it, friends. Thanks for your time. Now we will proceed to the next session. Thank you.